Alright, rambling delirium again, and I guess for one of my early videos I'm just going to talk about immigration since it is one of the topics I actually hold a strong opinion on. I actually think the United States as a whole really needs to cut down on immigration to a near complete stop. The thing is, we've been accepting about 1 million immigrants a year for a long time now, and the US population is about 330 million. In a 10-year span, that's something like 3% of our population. In a 30-year span, that's going to be almost 10% of our population. And with a rapid immigration rate like that, you can't help but rapidly change the culture, and you can't really assimilate people into your culture. It's not that I'm against cultural change, it's just cultural change has to happen at a steady rate, otherwise you end up with pockets of people that have completely opposing cultural values and views. The reason I'm against these pockets is because if you have a group of people that hold a completely different moral view than you do, when you interact with them, you can't interact with them in a high trust kind of way. You have to interact with them with a lot more paranoia and suspicion because you don't know what views this person could possibly hold. You don't know if they're going to be pro or against rape, God, violence, or any subject of view because, well, opinions and ideas are innumerable, and I can't really say that there's not a group of people that hold any specific type of opinion. And the other thing is, I'm also against immigration because it prevents countries from improving themselves. When we take the best and brightest people from Mexico or Africa or the Middle East or any country in general, we're taking away the people that could improve those countries the best. They're the most educated. They're the most driven. If they weren't driven, they wouldn't have the energy nor the drive to move in the first place. And if they weren't educated, we won't accept them. So we actually end up taking away the most important people from second and third world nations from them nations themselves. The other thing is immigration also acts as a release valve for cultural revolution in second and third world countries. When you've got an underclass of people in a nation that are trying to change the government that they're under or the dictators they're under, when you allow the dissidents and everyone that would be against this regime to move away, you actually leave behind a lot more people than that move to be oppressed by that regime. If everyone that was moving to the United States had to stay in their own country, they'd have a lot more reason to seek change, improvements, and to get a better political system working at home. And the dissidents against the current government would stay there and actually have to fight it out to change their governments and their country and improve it. But as long as first world nations in general will allow everyone from a under par first world nation to move to the first world nations, there's no reason to improve any country. Just go find a country that is your ideal already, that already holds your opinions and points of view, and it creates a weird kind of stagnation for the second and third world countries, which I think is much worse than preventing a few people from moving to a first world nation. And that's all I really have to say is I think immigration's not a good thing in general. Oh, actually, I have a bit more on that one. Third world nations also supply a ton of labor to first world nations. This labor in supply to the first world nations actually allow the rich in the first world nations to suppress wages of the middle and lower class in those first world nations. If you take a job like farming, and that doesn't take a lot of education, may take some skill, I'm not downing on farmers or any of those labor type jobs, they're very rough and I've personally worked them, but if you inject a ton of people that is their job, that is their skill, that's what they've done into a nation, they're going to be competing against other people with those jobs, driving down wages and making it so the job supplying class of a nation doesn't actually have to up wages, they can actually drop them because this is all the work those people can get, which actually makes it a lot harder to move from the poorer classes to the upper classes. And, well, I think this is actually a big reason why there's such a weak argument against immigration in a lot of nations, is because why would people that have a fairly good job or are hiring people in general argue against their own benefit? They'd like it if they could hire as many people as possible at the lowest wage possible. It doesn't affect their bottom line, and in fact it can improve their lifestyle. So that's basically my arguments against immigration, and if any of you have really good arguments against immigration, let me know. I can add it to my repertoire of arguments, and if any of you have a counter-argument against my argument, let me know. I'd love to hear them. Thank you. Bye.